Hi, my name is Cynthia Evans with Simplifying Social Security. And I just want to take a few minutes on our Tidbit Tuesday to talk to you about the differences between being insured for Social Security, disability, and Social Security retirement. Now, that means that there are two different ways that Social Security looks at your earnings depending on what you're talking about filing for retirement or disability. Now, for retirement, I've heard so many different ways that people think that Social Security looks at your earnings. And I'm going to go ahead and let you know that they look at your high 35 years of work. Okay. Your high 35 years of work. So, what does that mean? That means that when you file for retirement benefits, they don't just look at your last three, they don't look at your high five, they look at your lifetime, your 35 years of work. Well, that's good in some instances, but let's say that you have been self employed. You have done a lot of work, but you did not have a lot of earnings where you have paid into Social Security. Well, there's some years that you might have had 0 years where you did not have a profit. That means that those will be calculated into your work calculations for retirement benefits. So they will look at your high five, and that won't have any difference in your benefit. But when they look at your cumulative, they calculate the whole thing, and they look at your primary insured amount, not high five, not last three. No, they look at the Social Security earnings that you had for 35 years. So, what do they do with that? They calculate it, they index them, bring them up to current day's value, and then they look at how much you are eligible for after that. They say, this is your primary insured amount. That's where they start. That's where they start with the number holder, the person that's filing for benefits. And they say, this is your primary insured amount. Well, let's say you have auxiliaries, a wife, children that are eligible. Well, how does that affect your benefit if you're the number holder? You're the worker. It has no effect. The primary insured amount for the person working, the worker, bearing on what the auxiliaries, your spouse, or your children are eligible for. Now, if there's extra money after the primary insured amount is calculated, then you will have auxiliaries that receive benefits. But let's say there is not any extra. Let's say they tell you that you're eligible for $150 a month. That is because you did not have a lot of earnings, or you had um, 0 years for your self employment. And that's all that they can pay you. That's all that they can pay you on your record. Well, that means if there's nothing extra, that's all the primary insured amount that you receive, and that's how much they're going to pay the number holder. Your wife, your spouse, your children are not eligible for any benefits at that point. Now, can that change? Sure. Let's say that you are still working and you are receiving retirement benefits. Well, at some point, as your earnings come on, they take some of those 0 years off. They replace those 0 years with your new earnings. Let's say you change jobs and you become a waged employee, and you have steadier earnings, you have higher earnings, your self-employment business starts booming, whatever the situation is. Those 0 years are then replaced. They recalculate, Social Security recalculates your benefit amount, your benefit increases. You might have some earnings that might be then payable, some benefits, I'm sorry, some benefits that might be payable to your auxiliaries, to your spouse or to your children that might be eligible for benefits at that point. So, yes, you can change your insured status if you are not receiving a lot of money, and or that you're not insured at all. You can, continue to work. That's for retirement. Well, let's talk about disability. Disability benefits. There's a insured status rule for disability benefits, and we're talking about people that are adults, that not under the age of 30 or under the age of 24. If you are like in your 40s or 50s or so, this is what we're talking about for disability insured status. Look at the 5 out of the last 10 years before you became disabled. So let's talk about that. Let's say that you became disabled uh, this year, 2022, but you last worked in 2015. Okay. You became disabled in 2022, but you last worked in 2015. Well, what does that mean for your insured status? Well, we look at Social Security looks at 2012, 10 years. That means 2012 to 2022. Okay. So when Social Security looks at that, they say, okay, out of that time period, you have to have worked 5 years out of those 10 years. Well, last time you worked was in 2015. 3 years, 3 years in which you have worked and paid into Social Security prior to the time you became disabled. Okay. The window is 2012 to 2022, roughly. Okay. My point is, during that time period, you have to have worked 5 years out of the 10 years of that window period. Well, you don't really have that time period. Okay. So you would not be eligible for benefits, no matter if you're disabled or not looking at the point of being disabled. You could be disabled, but not be insured because, as we say, you have to have worked and paid into Social Security enough to receive the benefits that you're eligible for on the Social Security record you're filing for benefits. Okay. So to be eligible for disability benefits, for Social Security disability benefits, you have to have worked and paid into Social Security 5 out of the last 10 years that you became disabled. So during that window, you look and you see if you have paid into Social Security enough to be insured for Social Security disability. Now, can a person be disabled and be eligible for retirement benefits and not be eligible for disability benefits? Yes. In the case that we're talking about, you became disabled in 2022 and you have not worked since 2015, but when you turn 65 or 62, if you wanted to take the benefits at 62, your retirement benefits, then they look at your work record for 35 years. So it's not just the 10 years, that's for disability, but they look at your 35 years for retirement. So yes, that person would not have to have worked anymore if they had worked 35 years, and they say, okay, that's what we're looking at is your 35 high years. Okay. And so when they look at your benefit, they're looking at it depending on what your work record is. If they're looking for disability, they look at a time frame of 10 years. If they're looking at your retirement, then they're looking at 35 years. But how much you receive is based on what you have worked and what you have paid into Social Security. If you have not had high earnings, and happens with people that have sometimes low income, low work wages, minimum wage, self employed people. If you have worked a lot in self employment, but have not paid into Social Security a lot, have not paid, had a profit, sometimes when you're starting off, you don't have a profit. Well, you're not going to have a lot of um, uh, benefit. You're not going to have a lot of benefits coming in. But people that have usually steady work, um, high wages, they do have a higher benefit. It's not something that Social Security calculates. It's the fact, starting off with the fact, what you have worked and paid into Social Security. So if you have low wages, or you have self employment that you're not going to receive a high Social Security benefit from, because you have a lot of losses or whatever the situation might be, go to the Social Security Administration website, set up a My Social Security account, look at your earnings prior to filing for benefits, decades prior to filing for benefits. The last thing you want is to be surprised when you get to the Social Security Administration and you're in the situation of filing for retirement and your benefits are not what you expected. You're accounting very heavily on Social Security and it's just not there. No fault of anyone's, but it's you don't want that surprise at that time. It's good to be planning ahead and say, oh, you know what, I can't count on Social Security because I've been self-employed. I haven't had a lot of earnings to pay into Social Security, or I've had low wages, or it life has happened where I've been disabled, but I wasn't able to work because of the disability or whatever the situation is. Look at your work, make sure it's available for for you when you come to Social Security and you're like, I know I'm going to get $600 a month. I've already looked at it. I already know about it. Be prepared. Let your family know what you need to to file for benefits if it comes to that. What do they need to know? If something happens to you, what about survivor benefits? That's also so vital for when you, the worker, are working and paying into Social Security. It's vital that you know, okay, family, if something happens to me, this is what you should know. This is about how much you should receive to your widow or to the widower or to the young children. Plan for that. Where do I go? I get that so many times. Where do I go to find out what to do? My spouse has passed away. We've been married for 60 years. Where do I go? Am I eligible for benefits on his record? Do you know? If you don't, give me a call. Give me a call. My contact information will be below. But I hope that this has helped you in some way understanding filing for insured status on retirement and insured status for disability. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me, contact me, email me. Um, this has been very enlightening for me to contact you to let you know some of the things that the Social Security Administration means when they have these certain terminology. Okay. I try to explain it in such a way that you would understand. If I have not made myself clear, please contact me. Thank you very much.